Normally it's a Wednesday, but with a little bit of an adjusted schedule, we bumped it up a day. Let's go inside the biggest games with Big Game Breakdown. Saturday night, Lucas Oil Stadium, a massive collision between Oregon and Penn State for the Big Ten championship. You can watch the game 8 p.m. Eastern time on CBS, America's most watched network, the network of stars. You can stream it on Paramount Plus, a mountain of entertainment. You can watch college football pregame show on CBS Sports HQ. That'll include Danny Kanell. We got Darius and Damian.
Damian Harris, Cardell Jones.
Oh, nice.
When they booked Cardell, I think they were probably thinking it might have been a whoopsie. Match that made a lot of sense. And I think since then, I even texted Cardell. I was like, "How pumped are you to go to Indy for the Big Ten?" And all I got was like the face with like the little confused face on his emoji.
Yes.
Hey, at least somebody from Ohio State will be there, right?
And then also, of course, Mackenzie Brooks, Jordan Giorgio, the whole gang will be there. Be sure to check that out on CBS Sports HQ. So the game itself, the matchup itself, it is not a rematch. Unlike what we've got elsewhere on championship week. It is two of the teams that we've identified as being top-tier Big Ten teams since the very beginning of the season when we were on the field at Lucas Oil Stadium trying to pick apart the real contenders for the Big Ten title. We laid out the path. Oregon did it. Penn State, they got a loss, but then were able to backdoor their way in thanks to Ohio State's loss to Michigan. So let's start on the Penn State side of things. Danny, what is when Penn State's getting together and they're trying to get themselves ready? What do they know they need to do well? Like, what is Penn State's bread and butter? Like, what's the thing that's going to give them the best chance to win their first Big Ten title since 2016?
Do you want offense or defense? Because I had both angles of this one. I think on defense, it's how disruptive can you be? Can you throw Dillon Gabriel off his game? Can you pressure him? I think Tom Allen wants to bring pressure. He wants to throw your quarterback off his game. So that's like priority number one on the defensive side of the ball. And on the offensive side of the ball, Andy Colton-Nicky has delivered as advertised an offense which is top 5 in yards per play. They've been getting more explosive. And the thing that's pretty amazing about it, that we've asked this question all season long, who's going to be the big playmaker at receiver? And he's just figured out a way to make it Tyler Warren. Like it's amazing the way that he's gone about it. We did a breakdown for him a couple weeks ago when CBS had the Penn State game. And, seeing him lined up as a wide receiver, seeing him lined up as a traditional tight end, seeing him lined up in the backfield next to Drew Aller, seeing him lined up at center, snap the football and head out on a route, motion him across. It's pretty fun to watch the creativity with which he's designed the system. And I'm really curious to see what he has up his sleeve for this Oregon defense, because I think it'll be more of the same. And he does some of those funky formations that we've seen kind of trendy. Georgia tried it, but where you put, the half the offensive line over in front of a wide receiver or one, there's just a lot of creativity to it. It's fun to watch, but that's kind of where I'm curious to see how you can develop some explosive plays against a defense that has really been good and now getting stronger with Jordan Birch all of a sudden kind of back in the mix, coming off a huge game against Washington where, he had 2.5 sacks, but he's been hurt a lot of the back end of the season. Haven't seen him. He's getting better. That Oregon defensive line has been really good. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
You guys want a fun fact?
Of course.
Let's hear it.
If Oregon wins this game, it will be the 6th time in history that one team has beaten Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State in the same season. The previous 5 times were all done by one school. Do either of you know what school's done it 5 times?
Is this an Illinois thing? Or are you like trying to hype up?
No, it's not Illinois.
Is it Iowa?
Nope.
My turn?
Yeah.
Michigan State.
Correct. Michigan State's done it 5 times. The last time they did it was 2015, but they also did it in 1951, 1965, and 1966, in which they won the national title both years, and 1999. So For Oregon to come in and do something that only Michigan State has done and to do it in its first year in the Big Ten would be kind of impressive, considering those three teams have dominated the league for the most part in the modern era. As for the game itself, Danny mentioned it. If you're Penn State, you definitely want to get pressure on Dillon Gabriel, because if you look at the numbers, he's only been pressured on 105 of his 403 dropbacks. But when he is pressured, he's still pretty good compared to everybody else. But he's not good compared to himself. His completion percentage drops to 49%. His efficiency is down to 127.8. And the TD rate drops only slightly. But more important than anything, the interception rate nearly doubles to 2.4%. And if you look at the Penn State defense, they rank 10th nationally in pressure rate. The problem that they deal with is that Oregon's good at pressuring the quarterback too. And Drew Aller, also better than most under pressure, but his numbers really, really drop when he is pressured. The good news is he doesn't turn the ball over, but his touchdown rate plummets to 1.5% from like 7 point something on the regular season total. So he's very rarely making big plays as much as just kind of getting rid of the football and not making bad plays. So I think that's going to be huge, because Oregon ranks 5th, Penn State ranks 10th, but the difference between them in pressure rate, the difference is Oregon does it without blitzing. They rank 8th in pressure to blitz rate, whereas Penn State's 54th. So that's partially philosophy. Like, I think if they wanted to, Penn State could only rush 4 and still do a decent job of getting pressure on you, because I do think they have good enough guys up front to do it. But philosophically, Tom Allen is a little bit more aggressive with blitzes. It will be interesting to see if they change that up a little bit against Dillon Gabriel or not. But if we go back to the game, like against Ohio State, Penn State lost the game. But overall, defensively, they did a pretty damn good job of reining that offense in.
Oh, it was red zone failures.
Yeah, the secondary for the most part did a decent job. And I think the one thing that you got to look at in this game is Tez Johnson came back last week. That's huge for Oregon, because it's a small sample size of only 2 games. But in not including the Michigan game in which he got hurt, in the 9 games with Tez Johnson, Oregon averaged 3.09 points per drive. In the 2 games without him, against Maryland and Wisconsin, not exactly stalwarts, that drops a full point to 2.09. Their explosive pass rate with him, 19.4%. Without him, 9.2. EPA per dropback with him, 0.34. Without him, 0.08. It's pretty obvious to say Tez Johnson, very important to what Oregon wants to do in the passing game. He is a big part, even if he's not getting all the targets. The fact that he's out there and must be accounted for opens everything up for everybody else. So how will Penn State handle that? Because Oregon has been able to throw the ball. But the other thing that Penn State needs to do in this one is take away the run game. Can they? Possibly, because they have been very good against the run defensively. And if you look at Oregon this year, they're not what I would call run heavy, but they are run often. They run more than they pass, put it that way, but they still, they're balanced, but they rely on their run game to set things up for the passing game. If you can take that away and force them to be more one-dimensional, that allows you to bring more pressure. And as I went over with the numbers, under pressure, Dillon Gabriel, not nearly as good. So that is going to be key to me for Penn State. Can they take away the run defensively? Can they pressure Oregon? And on the offensive side, can they run the ball? Because while Oregon is good defensively, if they have any vulnerability, it is against the run.
Does it feel like they've just been they've been very businesslike in the back end of the season? Like, I wonder too, what if they have anything dialed up their sleeve? Do they have, because we saw a different version of Dillon Gabriel in this offense against Ohio State when they had to have him. And some of those were just him making plays, which was great. But I do think they've been more heavy as of late in not throwing the ball a super ton late in the game. The one thing I think too that you'll probably see is the Dillon Gabriel short game. He's really good at just dissecting, knowing where to go with the football. And you've got, 2 good tight ends. You've got 3 good wideouts. You got a lot of options if you spread them out. That's where I think you can try to frustrate Penn State's pass rushes, by getting rid of the ball quickly.
Oregon, and this is a great, humorous twist because of their mascot, but Dillon Gabriel does find the duck really well.
Mm-hmm.
He does a really good job of surveying the defense and finding the matchup advantage. You mentioned, Terrence Ferguson with like all that experience that he's got. Sometimes it's him being able to use his physicality on a smaller body. Sometimes it is one of your wide receivers being able to get the matchup against somebody that just can't keep up with you in space and get enough separation. I was thinking about Oregon's offense in terms of this matchup where, and you talk about the business-like approach. One thing that Oregon has done, even as they've been business-like, is they'll sputter for a second, and then it's like they can hit the gas. A team will score or they'll have a bad possession, and it looks like things are about to tip, and it's almost as though they understand the urgency of the moment. They were not able to hit that against Wisconsin. That was the thing that made that game such a sweat. But against Washington, it was like a little bit competitive, and then zoom, like Oregon goes out there, like bang, bang, couple touchdown drive, game's over. Against Michigan at the start of this, a couple weeks ago, Tez Johnson goes out with an injury. You've got the kickoff, the muff, that sets Michigan up with the short field. And then in the second quarter, like bang, bang, bang. Like I've got more faith in Oregon's offense. If this game is tight, if there's real urgency, I've got more faith in Oregon's offense to operate and score with urgency than I do with Penn State's, just based on as they've been going through their 12-0 performance this season. They have been tested in moments of games, but the final score don't necessarily show it because of the way they've always been able to respond with urgency.
Who wins?
I think the Ducks.
Wow. Danny.
Our locks are tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
I'm not asking you who covers. I'm just asking who you think wins.
Who's hoisting the trophy?
There's a dynamic here that I usually enjoy the mental aspect of like who has the edge and who wants it more. And like when we talked about Ohio State losing to Michigan, I think Ryan Day completely handled the pressure and stress of that the wrong way by pouring it on more. Two things, like where is Penn State mentally after thinking they were going to get a bye week and probably sitting at home? Like, can they ramp it up like that to get ready for a game? And then for Oregon, it's an interesting dynamic because you kind of know you got a loss. Like, you're okay. Both of them do. So I guess there's that. But I think Penn State will be a tough out for Oregon.
I think they will be a tough
I'm kind of leaning towards, and I picked Oregon to win the national title, and I think they still could, but I'm kind of leaning towards Penn State.
What about you, Tom?
I think if you're Penn State, you've got absolutely nothing to lose. Because like you just said, Danny, you really didn't even expect to be here. Like you went into the weekend thinking, well, Ohio State's going to be going to Indy because there's no way in hell they're going to lose to Michigan. And then Ohio State loses to Michigan right before you start to play Maryland. And you're sitting there like, huh? What? So now we're just a win away from getting Indianapolis ourselves. And you notice they went out there and beat the hell out of Maryland.
Yeah.
I think that if you're Penn State, you got to play free. Don't like the part with the Nittany Lions all year or throughout James Franklin's tenure has been their inability to win these games. I think this is a great chance to win one of these games because nobody expects you to be here. At the same time, you're right, Danny, in that Oregon has nothing to lose because they're still in with a win. But wouldn't you rather have that bye? And wouldn't you rather be the 1 seed? So I think Oregon's going to come out. I have Oregon winning. That's my prediction. But I don't think the spread is 3.5 by mistake. I think this is a much closer game than maybe you would anticipate it being just based on the narrative surrounding both of these teams all year.
I agree on 3.5 is actually big compared to like most others, compared to most of the championship week spreads. The fact we're over a key number of a field goal certainly is, I think it's got some people really excited about Penn State. Shoot, you're gonna give me Penn State plus a 3.5 points. That's that definitely does seem to be out there. I mean, from a power rating standpoint, there's really not that much of a difference between these two teams. There should not be a home field advantage. I'm not gonna. I can't say one way or the other that one school is going to be able to dominate this. If you're Oregon, you've never been in this spot. They think, I saw them travel well to Ann Arbor. I think they'll travel well to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And like Penn State, they're going to bring out a ton of people. They got alums all over the daggum country. So it's going to be a pretty awesome. Are you going to be?
Also, you don't need that long of a runway. to fly to Indianapolis, so James Franklin doesn't have to worry
That's
about
right. You don't have to build a new airport in State
Mhm.
College. Yeah.
From the sort of injury matchups, as Danny mentioned, we've always been monitoring Jordan Birch. My expectation is that if he'll go, he'll be good enough. I mean, was in it like 2 or 3 games ago? He had the fake punt. Like we weren't sure if he was going to play, and then he just sprints down the field. Seems like something they've just kind of been managing with the
Mhm.
idea that it's going to be a 16-game schedule. And when they really need him, he's going to go. I think they'll really need him. I think he'll go. Harrison Wallace, who among wide receivers, not the top pass catcher, but among wide receivers, has been the most productive for Penn State. Missed the Maryland game. Last I saw, James Franklin was hoping the expectation is he'll be good for Oregon. So something else to keep an eye on as well. And then
Man, with Oregon secondary, you just put your best corner on him, and you do whatever you can to stop Tyler Warren. You just have to bracket him. You got to put a safety. Like you got to do everything you can. But the thing is, we were talking earlier about where they line him up. It's really challenging to do so. But that'll be Oregon's biggest challenge. Just keep eyes on him, figure out where he is, have your adjustments ready to go, and you better adjust to him quick, or else he can't burn you.
And by doing that, can you open up some run lanes for?
Yeah, sure,
yeah, for sure.
This could be Danny. This could be the Mateo game. Mateo Uiagalelei, who at times
against
this
Ohio
season,
State.
Yeah, you've been like, whoa, like that's a difference maker right there. I can't. He hasn't jumped off the screen all season long for me, but he flashes in a way that makes me think he's got the that sort of special dynamic. And for stopping the run, big old Derek Harmon in the middle of that defensive line. You can command some attention. If you can, bust things up, then things could get a lot easier on your linebackers. Just a fun game.
Over under for how many times teams go for it on 4th down in this game?
Ooh.
2.5.
Yeah, I think over.
Over.
Okay, how many times does Penn State go for it on 4th down in this game? Over under half.
Under. Yeah, so you've got indoor. Also, you've got indoor conditions, so you're not nervous about kicking. We'll see.
I think it'll be I think it'll be a defensive game. I don't think that's probably. Do you guys agree, or do you think the offense will be able to figure it out, put up some points? I can see the defense is shining.
I think that Big Ten games have tended to be higher scoring than most people believe all year long.
I think
some people call offenses putrid, and then they go out there and score 35 points a game against everybody but Penn State and Oregon.
I think I think both of these offenses will be able to go out. And how about this? I think both these offenses will get scoring opportunities. I think if it is lower scoring, if it is under 49.5, I think it's because of red zone failures. That if you can turn scoring opportunities into touchdowns, then we could have a 31-27, 31-24
fast track.
First team that hits 30 wins kind of game. I could see that.
Fast track.
All right.